Ben ritrovate a tutte e a tutti a questo appuntamento con 3070 Doc Fest, alle interviste con i registi del concorso. Oggi siamo con Mario Valero, regista di Rodeo nel concorso ufficiale. L'intervista sarà tenuta in inglese. Hi Mario, thank you for being here with us. Hope to host you soon here in Vittorio Veneto. And in the meantime, I just want to ask you for starting, how is born yourself the idea of making Rodeo?
Actually, the idea of the film was born once actually all the rushes have been shooted, because I started shooting sometime by the end of 2017, and it was a kind of difficult year for me, and I was living. I'm living in Paris, and I was at that time, and I was leaving Paris usually, and every time I went out, I took this camera, which was at the beginning was a friend's camera, a mini DV camera, an old camera, and I started shooting all the time, but without the idea of making something from this. It was just a way of being away and not being alone, and voilà. And by the summer, I started digitalizing all the tapes, and I work as an editor too. So somehow I put everything on an editing project, and I started to try things and to pick the shoots I liked and the moments I liked, and there's something like a photo album when you go on vacation, for each trip, for each visit to friends' houses, to um, work trips too, around Europe, kind of. And at one point, I started to show this to friends, to my flatmate, to close friends, and they told me, "Why don't you? That's nice. Why don't you put it together?" And for me, it was very important to show them this, because it was a way to cover a lot of things I wasn't able to express themselves at that moment, which was a difficult period for me. And showing them these videos was a way of telling them things. And so 1 year after I started shooting, I put it all together, and it was like 45 minutes of rushes, and I showed it to a friend in Barcelona. I was visiting my family at the moment, who told me, okay, I don't understand anything, but it works somehow, but I get really lost inside. So, but wait, keep working, and maybe there's a film. And that was the first time I told myself, okay, there's a film there, what I'm doing with all this. And after that, it was like 6 months of working on it on my free time, because it wasn't, I had no money for it, I had no script, no team, so it was on my own, on my room. And every time I could, at night or when I had like free time, I work on it. And somehow I found a line. There's not a story in the film, but like something you follow inside.
And if you like, I would like to stay a bit on the editing process that it's central in your work, and which was your method in doing that? There was a criteria, some centerpiece you started from, or you just like to putting links between images, places, and experience, and then try to find some ways, some roads into images?
I don't know if there's exactly a method, because I started editing the film before I knew I was editing a film. But let's say at the beginning it was more like I don't know. I went to Florence in May 2018, and when I came back, when I digitalized the images, I started putting them together and trying things, but just to have kind of fun and just to try to find some sense of what I had filmed there. It was the same with Brussels. It was the same with some images I had from Barcelona, and so I did have little edit for for a moment, for a city, for a little trip, and then when I started really editing, like when I told myself, okay, let's try to make a film, like something like not only myself, it's not only for myself, it's for someone to look at it, and so let's try to make some sense out of it. At that moment, I really had like I had looked at all the images. I visited them really often, and I have like try things on editing, and I found that there was like some kind of motifs or ways of filming that were recurrent. I found a lot of times like things through reflections through glasses, for like from far away, like even if there was a lot of water too. I don't know, my English is not great, but and also I saw in this year I had like a kind of evolution, and that every time I filmed, like at the beginning, all the things I filmed was like dead things, or like not dead like in a gothic way, but like I don't know, like buildings, things, like the animals, which are, I don't know, taxidermic animals, and little by little I start to film people, but from very far away, and then I start to film friends. But every time I film friends, it was like we've been like many hours together, and at one moment when I feel comfortable, when I can be forgotten by the rest, I film, and they know it, and they're okay. But actually, I was all the time filming things like in a hidden way, or in a shy way, and so I tried to reconstruct this way of filming that changes, and the motives for it. This came later, but it was a natural thing, because I saw, okay, I have this that repeats I have the same in Brussels, at that time in Marseille, and at that time in Barcelona, at that time in Geneva, and so I put things together, and they fit naturally, because it was like the same things I was filming in everywhere, kind more or less. But it was it was a long process, because I started editing when I was still filming. I've been filming since, all the time, and now I film also in Paris, which I wasn't doing at the time. But yeah, at the beginning it was like just trying things on Premiere, and when I started thinking of a film, I tried to make more sense from what I was saying. But yeah, it was kind of associations, and also to make I didn't want to tell a story. I didn't want to speak by myself or put a voice. At that moment, I was there, and I was sad, or I was happy. I wanted to that. I don't know, when you think of a past year, a past moment of your life, you don't think of it in a chronological way. So sometimes you think, okay, I was in Brussels, and then there was this person, and this person was there too, and what I felt in this, and you jump from one month to another, and from one thing to another, and that's what I tried to do in the film, because jump from one city to another, from one season to another. So yeah.
Yeah, and also in editing and the final result of the film, which is Rodeo, music also play a significant role in it. Could you tell us more about it? About how do you thought about music and the role of music inside Rodeo?
That's a hard, yeah, it's a hard question for me. I listen a lot music when I write, when I edit, and I think it depends on each song why that song is there. But I don't know. For instance, for in the all the part with the animals in the Natural History Museum that goes from this to no, it comes from one painting to the museum with the real animals, and it's Ethiopian musician, pianist woman. Actually, that was the song I was listening all the time when I was editing this, and somehow I got this rhythm of the editing, which is quite like, I don't know, jazzy, but like calm jazz. But and it made me think of silent movies. And at that moment when I was editing these images, I wasn't thinking of sound. I was really only editing with the motifs and with the times of the image, not thinking of sound. So it was really evident at one point to try to put this song with the images, see what it does, how it works, and then it became really fine. It was really organic. I just had to adapt the cuts. I didn't want to make a clip, like a music video for like with this song, like with the images that goes perfect with the rhythm, but just like putting this song on the images. And then the second later, some months later, when I did this at one moment, and then when I came back to that, I started working the sound which is behind. And so we passed from the bus station of Firenze and we start listening this music in the station. And that's the thing which comes usually in the film. You start listening something in a place, and then this sound takes all the importance. I don't know, takes the volume, and you go for. I'm telling that wrong. You are in the station. You listen to a little piano music far away, and then you go somewhere, and the piano is there and this place, and it's more strong. And then you take out, because there's a sound coming from far away, which is the sound of the museum and the sound of water because it's raining, and you forget the music because you are listening to the water of the rain and the sounds of the museum. So it's always a sound that comes and the other, and who takes the relay, and the other sound goes out. I don't know if it's clear, but for me, the music, I work at it every time, almost every time this way. There's the same with the concert. At one moment, there's a concert in the street where we see it from a glass, and you start listening to it, and you don't know where it comes from, and then you see the concert, and then the concert goes away, and you lose the sound. And at another moment is a car who pass, and the music goes with the car. And for the music's concrete, why one music and not another? It's actually, every time I was working on the film, I started working with the music as I was listening at that moment. It was a really silly way of thinking music from the film, but I like that thing that Actually, I was editing something from April 2018 in the summer, and so something from the spring, you're editing this in the summer, so it's not the same. And I like this discussion of it's not the same mood, it's not the same moment, but you're revisiting and working these images in a moment where you are not in the same mood, we are not in the same moment in your life, you have a little distance. So you listen to other musics too, and it's the same when I was editing the summer during the autumn, and the autumn during the winter or the spring or whatever. So I like this décalage, or this like working on a material with a mood which is not the same of the material, which gets you to have a distance to it.
And thank you for this explanation of music. It was very intense, because for everybody that will see Rodeo, they will see that music plays a central role, but it's not didascalic at all. It doesn't suggest you a ways of feeling, but it is more it's more part of the images than it's like a track, just a track. And also, I have a curiosity about the movie, because when I watched for the first time, I immediately thought about urban symphonies and avant-garde cinema of 2030, and in particular of René Clair, I thought, and this way of thinking about images in cinema as something that I, as director, manipulate and bring together in a free associative idea, and I just wanted to know if it was an influence to you, the urban symphony of the 2030, and also René Clair, but if it's not, yeah.
I like a lot 30s cinema, but I would mostly think of American cinema of the 30s, like Pre-Code, or just end of the 20s, beginning of the 30s, mostly Hollywood cinema. René Clair, I saw it when I was in the university, and I think I must have seen films, but I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly a film. No, if I should say a reference, but I really wasn't thinking of on cinema when I was editing. Really, I was thinking on the images, and I was thinking on what was there, and my friends and my life, and what these images would say to them, to me, and what all this. But there's a director which is not really well known, whose name is Jim Jennings. It's an experimental director who lives in New York. He's a plumber. He has a plumber company, and the films I've seen his films like 10 years ago in Barcelona, in an experimental session. But it was films which every time he went to work on a place, because he had to do plumbering there, and he visited a lot of neighborhoods in places in New York, and every time he was going all the time to a place, he had his 16 millimeter camera, and he did a film on the neighborhood. So there's a really like it's 10 minutes, around 10 minutes films, and there's one like just Wall Street, and it's all Wall Street is filmed from the shadows, and there's another Chinatown, which is a film on colors. Everything is from colors, so it's really on the motif, and it's more like a more experimental cinema, the way you can define it. I don't know how, but it's not the way I worked for the film, because it's not conscious gesture in the way I didn't decide how to film things for a motive or for a reason. I just did it, and then the film came later. But I think it's his films stayed really on my mind for a long time, and I think still think about him, a bit about his movies, his films. But yes, no, the 20s, the 30s, yeah, I like a lot, and I saw, of course, Walter Woodman. I saw, of course, Joris Evans, Rain, and yeah. I also Diga Vertov too. Yeah, I really love this way of editing. But I don't know if I was thinking on other on other films why I was doing this. I think it came later, with when like the most I was coming to the end of the process of the film, the more people was watching the film, and the more people was watching the film, and more people talked to me about other films and other directors and etc., so on. But it wasn't a conscious thing.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for that, and for everybody, Jim Jennings. Yeah, is that correct? Okay. I will like to conclude this interview by asking you just if are you working on something new at the moment, or everything? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yes. Actually, since yeah, it was a difficult thing also to decide when, where, how the film finished, because it was a moment of my life that it could have been like I could have put like 2-3 months after, or 2 months before. So it was a difficult question to answer for me, to myself. And actually, I saw that, like, I don't know when, like 2 years ago, I don't know, by December 2018, I started filming in another way. I started trying other things with the camera, and I started filming in Paris too. So I realized I was changing this way. I keep filming, but I'm changing the way of filming, and it was the same thing that made me tell to myself, okay, the editing is over, because now you're starting to edit in another way, and I think you have to try this in another film or whatever. But if otherwise, I could be still changing the film and editing it. So since then, I've been filming, but like more often, and in Paris too, and like I have my camera almost every day with me. So I have a big archive of things from I don't know, all 2019, and since then, well, with the coronavirus, and maybe I'll film a little less, because there's no much things to shoot. Like yeah, I have a lot of things on my window, but you get used to it, and it becomes boring. But with all this material, I've started thinking. I had an idea of a script since a long time, which I wanted to work back in an improvisation way with non-actors, like the simple idea of the game of the telephone. I don't know how do we say in English, but when you tell a story to someone and someone tells to someone, and the story becomes something else and everything. And I wanted to work about this, but I didn't know much how and all that. and I had all this archive. So I decided to take friends and people who are in these images and write some fictional situations and sequences where friends tell one story to the other, and it's kind of like putting fiction into Rodeo, or like or creating a fictional situation where I felt like Rodeo. There wouldn't be that much sure, I don't know, when you have put different images in the same image. I don't think I will edit it like that way this time, because it's not the same. It's not the same idea of coming back to a past where things are sometimes one with the other, and this is more like a game of things going from how one thing becomes another and it changes, and also is a lot thing with where the word is much more present and have a central place in the film. So I'm working on it. I've started editing little parts of this year where the things happen, and also writing and working with the friends who will be actors for the occasion. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Mario, for being with us, also distanced, which in Italian. Vi ricordiamo che potete vedere Rodeo di Mario Valero sulla piattaforma fino al 6 di gennaio. Vi ringraziamo a chiunque si sia fermato qui con noi e vi diamo appuntamento alla prossima intervista. Grazie mille.